Hello, everyone. I'm gonna start talking once everybody gets on. I decided to go live on my personal page because I want everybody to know that from now on, they will be on my live videos will be on my blog page, which is Shavonna Henry, Facebook, and on Facebook. Good morning. So, I'll wait for a few more people to come on. We're going to be talking about what is really narcissistic personality disorder. I have been studying narcissism for it's going on 3 years. At first, I really didn't understand the concept because I had never heard of it before. But once I understood what narcissism was, I see it in so many people. Some people that are very, very close to me. Some people that I just generally just meet. And most of the time, I feel kind of bad that I know what narcissism is. So, this video is an introduction video of narcissism being part of the personality B spectrum. A lot of people take narcissism and they see a few aspects of it and they just throw it all into one. But in reality, it's just part of the B personality disorders. There are a lot of people that may have narcissism traits, but they are not narcissistic, okay? And sometimes it's kind of hard for people to believe because they like, well, they have the traits, but it's bigger than that. It's way more broader than that. So in this video, I will be discussing the personality traits in a very small dose because I don't want to bombard y'all with so much information the very first time. The next video will be on the 16th of May, so that will be part 2 of what really is narcissism personality disorder. And yes, I have my notes because I don't want to get off track of confusing you and confusing myself. So, narcissism personality disorder is a part of the cluster B personality spectrum. It is a pool of its own self, but the difference is between narcissism and the other cluster B's is that people that are narcissistic do not believe that they're narcissistic. They believe that they have an issue. So this is why it's kind of hard to diagnose them, because they don't believe that they have an issue. So that means they never go to a psychologist or a counselor or a social worker to diagnose them. So a lot of people like myself and other people that I've learned from, they learn based off experience alone. So I'm going to tell you the cluster B personality disorder before I get too far into narcissism. One of the cluster B's is antisocialism. It's a borderline personality disorder. Sometimes it's considered like bipolar. A histrionic personality disorder, and then it's narcissism personality disorder. So let me go to my phone notes. Apologize. People are texting me. Anti-socialism is usually people that they disregard moral values, social norms. Sometimes people are like, I'm antisocial, and they kind of lack empathy, or they have poor impulse control. When someone states that they're kind of antisocial, they are very on a low spectrum. That means that they can't function with other people, but they it's too much anxiety for them to deal with people that much. So they have to separate themselves. But when they get further down the personality disorder, they they are willing, when they get to the point where they have poor impulse control, meaning that they I'm talking about antisocial. It means that they can't um they can't control what is coming out their mouth. Like they just be like, oh girl, you fat, like, yeah, or or the truth is not. They lack empathy. They have little empathy. Narcissism, they literally lack empathy. Antisocialism, antisocial personality disorders, they are willing to hurt others if it helps them. Meaning they can say hurtful things just for them to feel more empowered. They More people that are antisocial are overrepresented in prisons. They have higher rates of substance abuse. They can be charming, and they can use their charming to manipulate others. They have no remorse or guilt. They don't accept responsibility for harm. If someone is antisocial in the personality disorder, they can become aggressive and unlawful, and they can do unlawful behavior. And we know them as psychopaths. Wow. Wow. So that's part of that spectrum. The borderline personality disorder of the spectrum, which some people may call of as bipolar, because they is split. Their moods are really unstable. They have intense joy, and then they'll have intense rage. So if you're talking about someone that's bipolar, that is called a borderline personality disorder. It's like right in the middle of antisocial and narcissism. They consider their defensive mechanism as splitting. The important things to them, like if they're at a job, right? Some of these behaviors, some of these disorders, it's hard for them to continue to have employment, because they can't without medication, they can't level out between good and bad. So if a supervisor comes to them and they say, oh, Johnny, you didn't take out the trash, which is your normal routine. And then depending on their mood swing, that mood for that moment, they will be like, I'm always taking out the trash, even though you told me. I didn't know at that moment that I was supposed to take out the trash. Like, they can't. It's the rage is kind of uncontrollable, and they can't. There is no medium. But with these individuals, they're willing. They are aware that that they have some issues. So that's why it's kind of like they know when they're having a good day, and they know when they're not having a good day. Now that's the one thing about personality, the personality disorder of the borderline kind of I lost my train of thought. Bipolarism is that they are terrified of abandonment. They will go to the extreme of someone leaving them, or they feel like someone's leaving them. And sometimes they might even try and commit suicide if it's if that they can't calm themselves down from that rage spark part of their splitting. So that's borderline personality disorder. So now I'm going to talk briefly about narcissism. Okay. One, narcissism is there's not that many cases of someone literally going to see a psychologist or a or any type of like, you know how they have surveys for people that they can admit that they have this disorder, because people with narcissism don't believe that they have a problem. They call it grandiosis. It's a self image. They're the individuals that you may have encountered are so self-absorbed that they can't see what you see in them. They see you having a problem because you're the one that's addressing it, if that makes sense. A narcissism, they're worried. It's all about themselves. It's either they worry about themselves and, oh, look at me, I'm everything that you can imagine. I'm successful. I have a nice house and I have a nice car. Look at me. Or they can be on the other end as woe is me. Woe is me, which they call that a covert narcissistic, which that's a whole nother video. So they can be on the opposite side, is, oh, I need help. Nobody wants to help me. No one wants to support me. No one loves me. And all this attention is being drawn unto them. They believe that their ideas is better than everybody else's. Their success is better than everybody else's. They really can't. It's hard for them to be genuinely happy for people, because in reality they're not genuinely happy for themselves. I do want to point out, I was actually counseling someone privately about narcissism and the narcissistic in their life. I had to remind them that these individuals are human beings. They have experienced trauma. Majority of anyone that you may encounter that's narcissistic has had a childhood trauma that literally is shattered. It shattered their true identity. And because that identity was not dealt with through therapy, the parent did not take them to counseling, did not take them to even address it at school when they start seeing signs of aggression or low self-esteem, or not holding them accountable to doing things that they're capable of doing on their own. They leave that damaged part of their identity, and they grow up with the same probably 8-year-old mentality of, I don't know what to do, but instead they put a mask on, and that mask becomes part of who they are without dealing with what's behind the mask. So then they become narcissistic. So for instance, most narcissistic individuals that become adults have have a parent that's narcissistic as well. And I hate to say it like that, but it's a revolving door. Um, and they tend to attract to people that's codependent, and or to people that likes or people that like to fix other people. You'll see, like some women attract more narcissistic men than some men that attract narcissistic women. Um, there are narcissistic women. I know a lot of people see me sharing stuff about narcissistic men, but I've met throughout this journey, I met a lot of narcissistic women, and it's kind of scary that this is that these people are real. Um, Another part of narcissism is you have to come to a hard truth that they're sick, and they're some of them can become violent. That's a whole nother video. But you can't help them, and that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people that are professional and and in the cluster B disorders. A lot of people that have that specialize in mental health, or in like any type of healthcare field, and they meet individuals that have learned this behavior, and created this personality. It's hard for them to wrap around that they can't truly wake them up, and it's because of they have so many layers of untreatable trauma that they really don't believe that if there's anything wrong with them. And I will repeat it every video, that they believe that there's nothing wrong with them. And I'm here to educate you to know, if you identify as helping helping someone with narcissism, that I want to let you know that I want you to focus on yourself, because you can't help the narcissist. No matter if it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your husband, your wife, your baby daddy, your baby mama, whatever. If you can identify the narcissistic traits of in someone personally to you, and you know that you have did the work of saying, hey, maybe you should go to counseling, or you exalt so many remedies to try and get them to see that there's something that needs to be working on, then you need to refocus and focus on your own self-care, because you're going to drain yourself, because you're not going to be able to do what you think it should happen. What should happen? When I counsel, mostly I counsel women. And when they come to me and they discuss to me that someone that they love is narcissistic, I just ask them like signs and everything, that, so I can make sure that they know if that person is truly narcissistic, or if they're another cluster B. And just a side note, it doesn't matter if they are a cluster B or they're low on the spectrum. If that individual is not going to take accountability for their actions, no matter what area they are on that spectrum, you can't take responsibility for them. You can't, they have to do the work. Okay? And And if they're not willing to do the work, then you need to pull yourself back and like my mom just said, and educate yourself on what you need to do to protect your own inner person. And that's as real as I can be. In my third video, not the second one, in my third video, we're going to be talking about boundaries, because I know a lot of people that I follow on YouTube, and there's some people that I usually share on my personal page, on my business page, that I really had woke me up to narcissism. And the most thing that they taught me is that boundaries is key if you're dealing with a narcissist. No is your best friend. The word no. If you're not a no person, you need to start saying no in the mirror. No, I will not do this. No, I will not do that. No, I'm not. Whatever. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. But I want you guys to start educating yourself. Follow me. Follow anybody on YouTube. This first video is to let you know that narcissism is part of a spectrum of the personality B disorders. It's not one pool of one thing. Narcissism can overlap. They can have the same issues, as they can have bipolar issues in them, and they can have antisocial in them, and they separate them within narcissism. But narcissistic people are on that spectrum. Okay? So in this time period of us being quarantined, and I'm just talking about domestic right now, if you live with a narcissist spouse, female or male, or you live with someone that is your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you realize that they are narcissistic, I want you to definitely if you feel that you're safe in the house. If you don't feel like you're safe, you need to go on domestic violence. I think Mom, can you put it in the comments, the domestic violence website, and they have a chat that you can exit out, and you won't have no follow-up in your history. If you are, you can also call the 1-800 number for domestic violence if you feel like you're not safe. But if you feel like that you can weigh it out with the narcissist, then there is methods that you can do to protect your own peace, and to teach the spouse boundaries, or the relationship, their partners boundaries. It's called the Gray Rock method, and it's also called it's Gray Rock method. They all into one, and it's basically but on Candace, I'm sorry, on the site that my mom shared, you can exit out and it won't be in the history. And I know that from personal experience. And they also have a 1-800 number as well. And also, I don't know if I had shared on Facebook that they had a lot of us that are survivors with abusive relationships, and mostly someone that's narcissistic. We have been sending out codes. I'm gonna reshare it on my page, that you can text us or someone that you're connected to, and we will call authorities for you without him or she even knowing that that you contacted anybody. If you feel like you don't want to go that route. Um, I do want to encourage you guys to come to my next video. We'll be diving in deeper into narcissistic personality disorder and their tree within their pool